Hey, hello everyone. Victor Momo from Excel Moments here. And in this video, I want to talk about the if function, the intuition, for beginners. Based on my experiences, taking trainings and seeing, the challenges and the pitfalls that users fall into. I just decided to put this video out, explain, a few concepts and show you how to avoid, some of these pitfalls. So let's get into it. So when I think about the if function, I first think about the word if in the English language, which is a conditional word. So when I think of the if function, I know it's a conditional statement and it's useful, when I need to choose between alternatives. If there are multiple alternatives driven by a condition, I know that the if function, can come into play there. So I give you a simple example in English. I would say, if you read, you will pass, else you will fail. Okay, we could argue it, but you get the point, right? So now you can see from that statement that there is a condition and there are outcomes. So let's not mix the two of them up. The condition is what determines, the outcome, right? So if you read, that's where the condition is. The condition is on you reading. The outcomes are you either pass or you fail, okay? So we have a condition and you have what? The outcomes. Now, in terms of the syntax in Excel, the if function looks like the above. Has three arguments. Okay, logical test, that's the criteria or condition you're testing. If the condition holds true, whatever you have in value if true is returned. If the condition fails, whatever you have value if false is returned. Also note that the first two are required, really. You must supply a logical test and a value if true. You can decide not to supply a value if false. Excel will put the word false in there. But if you don't want that, then you had better give Excel, what you want it to display. But when you write if here, and you pull it up, you would see that value if true and value if false, both of them are in square brackets, which would give the impression that both of them are optional, meaning that you can only put the logical test, but you would realize that that never works. Because if you don't have, the value if true or value if false, why are you even using the if function in the first place? There's nothing to test, okay? So you must supply the logical test and, the value if true or a value, for it to actually make sense. As you've seen from the above, the if function in its basic form has two outcomes. The value if true, the value if false. Okay, so those are the two outcomes. But you realize that in the real world and in the scenarios that we face, we hardly have situations where we have only two outcomes. Okay, you could have a situation where you're trying to grade people in your class and you want to put excellent, good, and fair. Three outcomes. In such a case, you cannot use, one if function. Why? Because the if function can only return two outcomes, value if true, value if false. So when that happens, then you need to resort to multiple ifs. I'll talk about this in a different video, but I just want you to have that at the back of your mind. Now, for the condition, when we deal with the conditions in Excel, the basic ones, I would say, because the condition can get really, really, complex, but in a simplest form, we use simple comparators, operators for comparison that look like, the below. We can use an equal sign, test if two strings, two numbers, or two values are equal. You can test if one is greater than the other, one is less than the other. The one that most people hardly know is when we say not equal to. So in Excel, not equal to is a less than and a greater than sign, side by side. So it kind of looks like a quadrilateral, right? Now, you must also know greater than equal to. This is how it's written. Greater than with equal to. Less than equal to is exactly the same. Okay? So, and you must know when to use them. There's a difference between greater than and greater than or equal to. I would dwell a little on this, in subsequent video, but just, to point this out. These are the few ones that we use. So take a simple case, right? We want to return yes if 2 is less than 3, else we want to return no. This is really what it looks like. It's just simple. If 2 is less than 3, you return what? Yes, else you return no. I would, mention some peculiarities of what you are seeing in the next, slide, which is like on the next sheet. But for now, you can see what it looks like. So this is the logical test, 2 less than 3. The value if true is yes. The value if false is what? No. So, but since 2 is less than 3, it means it will return a yes. Let's take off the apostrophe so we can see it in action. And you can see it returns a yes because 2 is less than 3. The other one here is just testing. I want to test that if this cell is equals to Victor, it should return yes, else it should return no. Now let's take this off and see you can see here that it returns no. Why? Because the cell I'm referencing here, which is this cell, has the word James in there. Okay, so if I change this to Victor, I expect to see a yes. Okay, so that's in the simplest form. Here I've just used the equal to, and I've used, the less than. Let's get into, the next sheet so that we can talk about a few pitfalls that I have seen. Right, and sometimes very, very hard to debug. The first one I've seen is, using a single quote twice instead of a double quote. When you say press a double quote, people press a single quote and another single quote. But the way it is in Excel and the way it is in programming languages is shift and the apostrophe. That's a double quote, not two single quotes, not typing it one after the other. No, you hold the shift and you press the apostrophe. That gives you a double quote. So let me give you an example here. I'll say if 2 is less than 3. Let's say I want to see the word yes. Now I'll type two single quotes, yes. Okay, and then for the no, I type two single quotes again. And I press enter. That's when you realize there's a problem. There's a problem with this formula, but the formula looks very simple. So what's going on? Now it's pointing to the yes. Okay, what exactly about the yes is the problem? Okay, I delete it, and then I still don't know that a double quote is different from two single quotes. I repeat the same thing, right? And I still have the same problem. So this is one thing I've seen, that happens a lot. So a double quote is shift and apostrophe, not typing it twice. Please note that. Okay, so this one gets people tripped a lot of times, right? So, and that's how you fix that. Sometimes people forget the commas, although this is not too common when you have a very simple if function like we have here. But you have if somebody does 2 less than 3, the person goes to yes, maybe the person doesn't put a comma, goes to no, something like that. You start seeing some funny things, right? So you're like, okay, what's really going on? What I always advise is this: when you start learning a function, you must look at the tooltip. Okay, so you can see that the moment you press here, what is bold is logical test, meaning at this point you need to supply a logical test. The moment you put a comma, it moves to value if true. So you just keep following that way. As you get better with the function, you may not look at the tooltip, but for now you do. And you put what? Yes. Okay, and when you put a comma, you can see it's now value if false. So you are sure that what you are supplying corresponds to what Excel is expecting. Okay, right, and you close the bracket. Okay, that ends that. Now, the next one I've seen is also people not knowing when to wrap in double quotes or when not to. So standard is very simple and clear. When you have a string is normally wrapped in double quotes. A number that you want displayed, it's left, without being wrapped in double quotes. The moment you put it in double quotes, you're implying that it's a text. So let's give an example. So if I say if 2 is less than 3, I want to see yes. Because yes is a string, I need to put it in double quotes. Okay. If the otherwise is a number like 10, then I just write 10 this way, not double quote 10 double quote. Okay, so you get that. So now this will say yes because 2 is less than 3. If I change the 2 to 4, then it returns the number 10. All right, and it's a number, as you can see, it's right aligned. If you are putting double quote 10 double quote, then you are implying 10 as a text. All right, so for numbers, the same thing. Even if it's either in the outcome or in the condition, in the condition or in the outcome, you must respect that. So if I wanted to do something like if this cell is equals to Victor, I don't just type equals to Victor, because Victor is what? A string. I have to do it this way, right? But if I'm testing if it's equal to a number, I just write equals to the number. You get that difference. So that's very important. So whether it's at the level of the condition, logical test, or at the value of level of the value if true, value if false outcome, you must, know that difference. The other one I see that maybe makes people get, the results that they don't expect is not knowing the difference between greater than and greater than or equal to, or less than equal to. So if you say here, for example, if 90 is greater than this, say yes, else say no. What are you expecting? Are you expecting yes, or are you expecting a no? Right? The question is 90 greater than 90? 90 is not greater than 90. So this test would not give a true, it's going to give a false, and your answer will be no. Right? And that's different from when you do is 90 greater than equal to. That's right? Now you can see this is yes. Why? Because when you say greater than or equal to, it's not just checking if 90 is greater than 90, it's also checking is 90 equals to 90. If any of those two holds true, then it returns the value if true, else it returns the value if false. Okay, so those are just a few pitfalls that you need to be aware of as you approach the if function. This is in its simplest form where I'm dealing with just two outcomes, value if true, value if false. But these little things, can either make or mar, your experience with the if function. So this series is not over. I would have another video where I would, go a little deeper and talk about when we have more than two outcomes. But I hope, this gives you, some idea and some intuition around the if function. If you like this video, please hit the like button. You can subscribe to the channel Excel Moments. For now, I'm out.